This story comes from a remote village named Dhankudi in the Nawada district of Bihar. The village was so isolated and desolate that life seemed to stop the moment the sun went down. There were no roads, no electricity, only thick forests all around and a silence so deep it made the air feel heavy. Even during the day, the narrow mud paths felt eerie and abandoned. But once dusk settled in, every single person locked themselves inside their homes. They would hang neem and tulsi branches at their doors to ward off evil spirits. The elders constantly warned the children, "Never go out after sunset. There is something here that awakens in the darkness." It all began during the bitter winter of 1986. A young farmer named Rajendra was guarding his fields late at night. Around midnight, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air. Other farmers rushed to him, only to find him convulsing on the ground. His eyes were bulging out, his face had turned bluish, and black smoke was seeping from his nostrils. There were no wounds on his body, just an empty, lifeless shell, as though someone had sucked his soul out. In fear, the villagers quickly cremated his body. But the horror didn't end there. The very next day, 2 more young men were found dead in the same condition, eyes bulging, faces blue, and bodies ice cold. That was when whispers spread through the village like wildfire.
The Dayan has returned.
The elders claimed that decades ago, a widow had lived on the outskirts of the same village. She lived alone and treated sick children with herbs, but the villagers began accusing her of witchcraft. One day, enraged men tied her up and dragged her to the cremation ground. There, they burned her alive. As the flames devoured her, she screamed a curse. "I will return and burn your children one by one." Most villagers had dismissed the story as superstition, until now. One night, the village watchman Bola, drunk and staggering back home, passed by the old banyan tree near the cremation ground. He noticed a woman sitting beneath it. At first he thought she was a beggar, but when he looked closely, his blood froze. The woman was floating a few inches above the ground. Her long hair slithered across the soil like snakes. Her face was half burnt, and her eyes glowed like embers. And worst of all, her feet were twisted backwards. Bola turned to run, but a cold breath hissed in his ear.
"I will destroy the children of those who burned me alive."
He somehow stumbled back to his hut, but the next morning, his body was found hanging upside down from the banyan tree. His eyes bulged out, and his neck blackened. After that, terror gripped the entire village. No one dared to step out after dark. Over the next few weeks, the village sank into dread. At night, people heard anklet bells jingling on the rooftops, followed by female screams that came from nowhere and everywhere. Strange blood-like stains appeared on walls at night and vanished by dawn. Cattle were found dead in their sheds with no injuries, their eyes open and lifeless. Children woke up screaming, claiming a woman was walking on the roof. One woman swore she saw the Dayan standing in her courtyard, smiling without lips. The villagers finally summoned the old village priest, Raghunath Shastri. He performed rituals in the cremation ground and returned pale-faced, whispering, "This is a vengeful Dayan. Her curse will end only if her burnt bones are found and properly consigned to fire with sacred rites. Otherwise, she will destroy this entire village." 4 brave young men, Harinarayan, Govind, Ramlal, and Bikan, steeled their hearts. On a moonless night, they smeared their bodies with holy ash, wore tulsi garlands around their necks, and carried lamps, mantras, and sacred offerings. They began digging beneath the old banyan tree where she had been seen. As soon as their spades hit the soil, a fierce storm rose, clouds thundered, and the air filled with wailing cries. The Dayan appeared out of the swirling darkness. Half her body was now a skeleton, her hair whipped like black flames, and her eyes burned red as molten iron. She floated above them, shrieking,
"You too will burn, as they burned me."
But the men chanted louder and kept digging. At last, They unearthed a cracked skull and charred bones buried deep in the earth. They placed them in the sacred fire while reciting mantras. As the bones caught fire, a piercing, otherworldly scream ripped through the night, and then silence. The wind stopped, the storm vanished, and the Dayan dissolved into smoke. By dawn, for the first time in years, sunlight fell softly on Dhanakuri. The banyan tree, once withered and dry, looked strangely green. The deaths stopped. The villagers finally breathed in relief, but the terror had left deep scars on their souls. Even today, the village appears normal. Children play, farmers work in the fields, but as the sun dips below the horizon, everyone hurries indoors. No one dares to go near that old banyan tree by the cremation ground. The elders quietly whisper. Sometimes at midnight, the jingling of anklets can be heard there, and the smell of burnt flesh drifts in the wind.
Some say the Dayan is gone.
But the elders shake their heads and mutter, The Dayan never died. She only sleeps, and one day she will return.